This season, there's been a lot of twists and turns, but in this video, we're going to talk about a couple other turns that I would like to see coming before the season is over. You feel me? And I know it may be a little too early for me to start talking about this, but I have my third eye. I can literally see the future. So I know certain teams, you're not going to get much better anyways, so you might as well throw all your chips on the table and move the hell on because it's about damn time. And that's what we're going to do in today's video, because we need to talk about some players that need to be traded and what trades need to happen for them to get the fuck out of those situations. Because with these trades, it's either one, the player should not be there right now, they're being wasted, or the team just needs to move on from them, or two, the team needs to blow it the fuck up already. And yes, Indiana Pacers, I'm talking about you. I'm gonna call y'all niggas out from the beginning of this fucking video because I got a lot to say about y'all, but I'm gonna save it for my second channel. But getting back to these trades, if you agree or disagree with them, let me know down below in the comment section, and also suggest some trades of your own that you think I left out of this video. In addition to that, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and press that bell for post notifications. But without further ado, let's kick things off with the biggest loser in the NBA. You guessed it, Ben Simmons himself. This Ben Simmons situation, I gotta say, it was already off the rails, but the fact that this guy has now pulled the mental health card is insane. I mean, it's just really crazy to me how spoiled this guy is. He got that big ass contract that probably makes him feel like he's better than he actually is when he's really not. His athletic gifts will always give him an advantage on the court, and he was the first overall pick in his draft class, hailed as the next Magic and LeBron James. But it's like this guy refuses to understand he needs to improve. I mean, come on, man. But I don't even want to spend time talking about this nigga too much because he ain't even worth it, right, Philly fans? But if I'm being honest, this whole Ben Simmons trade talk, it just gets tiring at a certain point in time. But I do have a trade that I think a lot of people aren't talking about, and I can't cap, it should be able to blow your minds. Because the trade I'm suggesting, it's gonna help both sides. Here it is. You have Ben Simmons going to the Charlotte Hornets by himself, and the Sixers are receiving Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, a 2023 first round pick from the Hornets, and a 2022 first round pick from the Pelicans that's top 3 protected. Now let's talk about the side of the Charlotte Hornets. For starters, the Hornets have one of the worst defenses in the NBA. Like, they legit can't stop anybody. And we all know Ben Simmons is arguably the best defensive player in the league, with the ability to guard all 5 positions. And on a team like the Charlotte Hornets, he does not have to play the point guard position, obviously, as you have LaMelo Ball. And having a lineup of LaMelo, Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, Ben Simmons, Mason Plumlee, I think that's a solid lineup that can make the playoffs. And for the side of the Philadelphia 76ers, if we're being real, this isn't the best trade package for Ben Simmons, but it may be the only trade package left if we're really being honest. Because you're not getting Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal or any other legitimate star for Ben Simmons. I think that ship has completely sailed. And the longer you hold on to him, the less his value becomes. So getting a package that includes a potential 20-point per game scorer in Gordon Hayward that can create his own shot, play off the ball, and can play make, he's going to do some things offensively that Ben Simmons just can't do. Considering you already have Tyrese Maxey, who's showing signs to become a legitimate point guard in the NBA, I think pairing him with a Gordon Hayward and PJ Washington, who I'm going to address in a second, is solid. Because PJ Washington, I have to say, he's been kinda sus this year, but I think it's really because the Hornets just have a load of players at his position. I still believe in his potential as a floor spacer, and I think that he would fit perfectly with a guy like Joel Embiid in the front court. And that first round pick from the Pelicans is insurance, because as we speak, I think it's very clear that the Pelicans are not going to be competing for a playoff spot, as injuries and just straight up terrible play have completely bombed their season. And though I do think they're going to be bad, I don't think they're going to be so bad to where they're going to get a top 3 pick, because eventually Zion will come back. But even in that scenario, they could still end up with a top 10 pick. And if that's the case, considering how Tyrese Maxey is balling right now, you could package that for a lot of other stars in the NBA. And then in addition to that, you also have another first round pick that you can throw in that package, or you could use to draft a young player. The choice is yours. So I think this trade, personally speaking, works out for both sides. I'm sure a lot of people may find issues with it, but hey, don't be mad at me. Ben Simmons' value is really just that low. It's his fault. But let's move on to the next team, and we have the Toronto Raptors with this Pascal Siakam situation. Now, Raptors fans, y'all be coming at me. Y'all come in droves to protect your boy Siakam, I gotta respect it for real. But if we're being real, Scottie Barnes has not been playing his best basketball since Siakam has been back. And I personally think it's about time that y'all move on from Siakam anyways, and if he's at risk of stunting the growth of Scottie Barnes, get him out of there ASAP. And I have a trade idea that I think would work for both sides involving Pascal Siakam moving to the Washington Wizards. And that trade includes Pascal Siakam moving to the Wizards by himself with that big ass $33 million he's owed over the next 3 years each. In exchange, the Raptors receive Davis Bertans, Thomas Bryant, Hachimura, and Deni Avdija. Now for starters, if we're being honest, I know a lot of people are going to see this trade and say, hey, that's a lot of players to give up just for Pascal Siakam. Well, if you're the Washington Wizards, you don't even need a lot of these guys. Davis Bertans hasn't been playing that much anyways, and he's kind of a fake shooter now. Thomas Bryant has been out for what feels like forever at this point, and Deni Avdija really is the only contributor on that team right now, as Rui Hachimura has not played a single game of this season. So it may seem like a lot of players you're giving up, but in reality, you're only really needing 2 of these guys. In the case of Deni, he's a solid player on the defensive side of the ball, and offensively, he hasn't really tapped into his real potential, but I do think he has some promise still there on the offensive end that the Raptors are going to be able to pull out of him, as they have one of the best development staffs in the league. And the same thing applies to Hachimura, who has shown improvement on the defensive side of the ball, and offensively he has loads of potential that I'm sure the Raptors are going to be able to tap into. Now as far as the Washington Wizards side of things, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Siakam has been shooting over 40% from the 3-point line this season, and also he's a solid contributor on the defensive side of the ball, which has been one of the biggest reasons why they've been able to win a lot of these games. And I think Siakam as the second option to Bradley Beal is the perfect role for him. We've seen him win a championship as the second option to Kawhi Leonard, so we already know he can thrive in that role. I truly think this trade benefits both sides, and if you disagree, let me know down below in the comment section why. But let's move on to the next transaction, as we have Marvin Bagley. Now I can't lie, I was on the Marvin Bagley train coming into the NBA, and he has let me down big time. The guy truly has no bag, and he's terrible on the defensive side of the ball. He's just a body on the court, and if the rumors are to be believed, which I believe them 100%, you can tell by just his body language on the court, it's very obvious that he does not want to be in Sacramento anymore. So I think moving him is the best option for this team. Now as far as what the return package is going to be, here's the trade that I suggest. The Spurs get Marvin Bagley, Chiameze Metu, and a second-round pick from Chicago or Detroit in exchange for the Kings receiving Thaddeus Young. As far as the Kings side of things, they get a player that's going to contribute on the defensive side of the ball, and he can help you offensively with his versatility as a playmaker. And sure, he is on a 1-year deal that's kind of a little bit of a risk, but if we're being honest, you're gonna lose Marvin Bagley anyways, as he has 1 more year left on his contract. At least Thaddeus can somewhat help you salvage this season if you can. And as far as the Spurs side of things, they aren't even playing Thaddeus Young in some of these games. He's getting some DMPs, so losing him isn't going to hurt them at all. And I think if any place can salvage the career of Marvin Bagley and turn him from a bust to a franchise player, it is the San Antonio Spurs. We have seen them turn dust into gold, and hopefully in this case they can do so, because Marvin Bagley desperately needs it. Because the defensive side of the ball, if he can improve to being a good defender while improving offensively, then hey, watch out for his potential. And if any team and coach can get that out of him, it's Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs. We've seen it in the past, and they're still doing it right now as we speak. But as we're on the topic of things developing, that brings us to the Warriors and Pacers trade that I've been waiting for a pretty long time. Now this one is a little bit of a long shot, but stay with me here. As for the Indiana Pacers, I genuinely think that it is time for them to move on with so many of their players, because it's time for them to hit that reset button, and if we're being real, it probably should have happened about 2 to 3 years ago, as this team is really just stuck in mid hell. They just want to be mid and competitive for no reason. They're not going to get any top picks, and potentially they can miss out on the playoffs. So I just don't see any reason in keeping this team together, so it's about damn time that they move on. And this trade is going to be step 1 of the rebuilding phase, as I have the Indiana Pacers receiving Kevon Looney, Juan Toscano Anderson, James Wiseman, and Moses Moody, and then in exchange the Warriors will be receiving Justin Holiday and Miles Turner. Now for the Warriors, honestly, it should be self-explanatory what Miles Turner Turner is going to bring for them. He's going to bring some floor spacing at the 5 position and great rim protection, arguably the best rim protector in the game of basketball, or at least I should say shot blocker, as he leads the league in blocks per game. And I can't even imagine a defense where you have to deal with Klay Thompson on the perimeter as well as Andrew Wiggins, and then when you get in the paint you have to deal with Draymond Green and Miles Turner. Man, talk about a suffocating ass defense. And even offensively, Turner is shooting over 40% from 3 as we speak, and if he can keep that up, man, that's a deadly ass pickup for the Golden State Warriors. And as far as Justin Holiday is concerned, he's mainly contract filler, but he is going to help you defensively, and off the bench he can give you a spark with some floor spacing also. Now as far as the Pacers side of things, Kevon Looney is mainly contract filler, but he is going to be a solid backup big. Juan Toscano Anderson is a nice hustle guy off the bench. James Wiseman and Moses Moody though, those are the big pieces of this trade for them. Moody I think has potential to be a legitimate 3-and-D player, so he's going to be able to help them out on the defensive side of the ball, and offensively he has some growth as a shooter. And as far as James Wiseman is concerned, he still has some promise as one of the more upcoming bigs in the league. So I think this is a transaction that works out for both teams, only if the Pacers are willing to start their rebuild. If they're not, then I guess keep Turner just so you can lose in the first round potentially, or even miss the play-in, because right now I don't even think they're a play-in team, which just sucks because they have all those players that they could trade and they would be the exact same team as we speak if they even moved all those guys, a team that's not in the play-in. I mean, the more I think about it, it just annoys me why the Pacers settle for being this team. Whatever, let's move on. But now we're here at the final trade, and I can't cap, this trade is probably not going to happen, but hey, I can fantasize, right? Because there is a chance, just a small little 5% chance. And this trade involves Karl Anthony Towns going to the Golden State Warriors. Now, I made a video some time ago about the potential of Cat going to the Warriors and the Warriors' future as a whole with the assets that they currently have. But if I'm being honest, the more I think about it, the less I like this trade, but I still do think it's something that you should entertain if you're the Golden State Warriors, because the idea of Karl Anthony Towns on your team really sounds amazing for the Warriors system. But as far as the Karl Anthony Towns part of it, I can't cap, Karl Anthony Towns hasn't really been the player that I expected him to be this year, even though he's still been good, but he just hasn't been as good as I thought. Defensively, he isn't the best, and sometimes he lacks a lot of real leadership. I mean, there are so many plays that you could just cherry pick of him just showing really bad body language, whether on the court or even on the sidelines. And I think for someone who's not only the best player but the face of that franchise, that's not something that you want to see. But nonetheless, he's still very talented, one of the best floor spacers at the 5 position that we've ever seen, and a really solid passer overall. So I think the idea of him being in the Golden State Warriors system, it is still a huge plus. I mean, can you imagine the spacing of Steph, Klay, and Karl Anthony Towns combined with Jordan Poole? And hell, I'm even forgetting Bielitsa. That's just insane spacing to another level. This trade package though would have to consist of the Timberwolves receiving Andrew Wiggins, ironic right, Wiggins going back to Minnesota, but they're also getting James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, and a 2022 first round pick. In exchange, the Warriors are getting Karl Anthony Towns and Malik Beasley. Now if I'm being honest, Wiggins is mainly contract filler, but he is a solid 3-and-D player that can create also in the half court, so I guess he isn't really 3-and-D, but you get my point. But the two big pieces in this trade is Jonathan Kuminga and James Wiseman. Now as far as Wiseman goes, I don't want to spend too much time on him because I talked about him in the Pacers trade. He's a solid young big on the rise, and obviously that's why he's in this package. But in the case of Jonathan Kuminga, we all see the flashes in his potential offensively. He has nice size, pause, and defensively the potential is limitless. So I think with the T-Wolves side of things, maybe you could pry another first round pick out of it, but considering you're getting 2 young players and another young player in next year's upcoming draft, I'd say it's worth it, because Karl Anthony Towns, with the way things are going, if he demands a trade, his value is only going to go down, considering he's probably going to pick the teams that he wants to be traded to. And at that point, you essentially lose leverage in trade talks anyways, and you already have young players on your team in D'Lo and especially Anthony Edwards, who looks like you could build around anyways. And I think a package like this where you're getting 2 legitimate defensive players, or at least one of them you're projecting to be a defensive monster, in Kuminga, and Wiggins, who's already one of the better defenders at his position, I think off the bat you're already building around Anthony Edwards in a really solid way. Now as far as the Golden State Warriors side of things, Karl Anthony Towns, I already explained earlier, he fits like a glove with that system. And as far as Malik Beasley goes, I have to say Malik Beasley, he could be a really good contributor for them off the bench. He can space the floor, and sure, defensively he isn't the best, but I don't think his defensive efforts are even going to be needed anyways. He can kind of be that Leandro Leandro Barbosa role off the bench that they had back in the day. If not, he's even probably going to be better in that role anyways. But notice in this trade, I did not include Moses Moody, so the Warriors would still be able to keep one of their young players and assets on that team. Now, who knows if the Timberwolves would ask for Moody in addition, but I highly doubt that, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not giving up Moody and Kuminga and Wiseman for Karl Anthony Towns, considering I'm giving up my best defensive wing in Andrew Wiggins. It just doesn't make sense. But like I said earlier, it's probably not going to happen anyways, so hey, let's just dream about it, right? But that concludes this video, you guys. If you enjoyed it, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and press that bell for post notifications. Comment your opinions down below on some of these trades. If you agreed or disagreed with them, let me know down below in the comment section, and I will interact with as many people as possible. Don't forget to follow me on social media. The links are down below in the description box. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.